Hello, I'm Bill. I'm from Premier Faucet. I'm your advanced support consultant for warranty and technical service at Premier Faucet. I'm one of the people that you talk to when you call, or if you reach out via email, which is the best way, at support_premierfaucet at homedepot.com. I've done a little video series, unedited videos, raw videos of how to assemble and disassemble some of our most commonly warranted faucets. I get a lot of how do I type questions, put it together, take it apart, how does it do this, how does it do that? And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do some videos on the common items that I get the most calls on, and we kind of take them apart and then we put them back together and see how it all works out. So I haven't had one of these apart yet. This is a 120576. It's the old Sonoma 4-inch center set lavatory faucet. And let's take it apart and see what we can do about putting it back together. So where I usually start is with the aerator. The aerator is pretty easy. It's a male thread, 27 threads per inch. 55/64, I believe, is the measurement on it. It's also got an insert in it, but if the insert is clogged, it's probably best to change the hull on it as well. And remember when you're installing it that the spout itself doesn't go up and down. It leans out a little bit, so you don't want to try to thread it in up and down. It will cross thread it, and then you'll have problems with leaking. And when you tighten it back up, when you take it off or tighten it up, it should just be finger tight or just tight enough to keep it from spraying water. So what do you say we take one side of this faucet apart, because both sides go together and come apart the same way. I'm going to take the hot side off. The index button comes off. It's got the red ring on it for the hot. And we'll take our handy dandy Phillips head screwdriver. There's no real special tools that are for these. I would recommend when you use an adjustable wrench that you probably go with 8-inch, because you might need to torque it on something, or you might run into a nut that's a little bigger than a 6-inch could accommodate. So if you use that, that'll be great. And moving back to the faucet, here comes the lever handle. And what I'd recommend is leaving the screw in the handle, and that'll become clear later as to why we would do that. Also, you've got your handle skirt here. That is a thread off. And oftentimes these valves, all our valves, or any faucet for that matter, can get calcium built up inside it. So you can see the threads on the inside there. And what happens is the calcium gets built up and it tends to want to bind. So what we can do is when you take the handle off, you can spray a little WD-40 down inside the skirt if it doesn't want to thread right off. And if it still doesn't want to thread off, try taking a pair of channel locks, but wrap a washcloth or a towel around this handle skirt. And as odd as it seems, just bump it tighter a little bit. And what that tends to do is break the calcium bind on the threads, and then you should be able to just screw it off. Once again, this is a piece that only needs to be screwed on hand tight. It doesn't hold water, and you don't want it to be bound up forever and ever. You would take your adjustable wrench and go after the handle adapter here. It serves actually like a bonnet nut. And it could be quite tight. You may need a pair of channel locks to get that off. There's a flat side on both sides of this that you should be able to grip onto. So we screw that off, and that leaves us with our cartridge. Now when you take the cartridge out, you want to pay particular attention to the way this cartridge comes out, the aspect that it's at. And I'll point this out to you as to why in just a moment. But you take it out. This one, you would see that the pin, the cotter pin, or holding it in at the top, was facing forward. And you look down, make sure there's no trash. While you have these cartridges out, You would also want to turn the water on just a little bit and get it to flow out, and put a cup, a bowl, or whatever. Remember that this is installed on your countertop, basically like this. So, you know, you want to be careful so you don't run water all over the bathroom, so you don't do much, but it clears the particulate out. And any minuscule particulate that gets into these cartridges can score the ceramic disc, and the cartridge wouldn't last very long. So this one, as you can see, is a hot because it's got a red skirt on it. To put it back together, we would just slip that down in. There's a notch on either side, and then there's also a protrusion on either side of the cartridge to make sure that you've got it in the right place and that you put it in. You want to make sure now that you've tried to put it back in the way you took it out. And I'll show you why in just a second. So you would just tighten this back up. Once again, you don't want to over tighten these things. You want it tight enough that it's not going to leak, but if you over tighten it, it stands to get bound up a little bit. All right, so then you would come back with your handle skirt. Thread that back on. Once again, what do we do? Hand tight, right? Okay. So this is why you pay attention to the way you took your cartridge out. If your cartridge went in backwards, your handle would want to work backwards. It would turn this way rather than in. So you want to make sure that it's turning in. Remember when we took it off, it was at 90-degree angles to the spout, right? If you try to put it on like this, you wouldn't get much travel out of it, and it'd always be hitting the cartridge, or always be hitting the spout. So you want to put it back the way you took it off. Pay close attention. Now, remember we left the screw in there when we took it apart to begin with. And that's so now you don't have to try to drop this screw and get it into the hole in the bottom of this well. And then you just put your handy dandy Phillips screwdriver in there. Tighten it all down. Your index button, get your red index ring, and now you're back together. The other side would go exactly the same way. So, and then to install, you'd use your putty plate. Put that like that to where it kind of snaps in at the bottom, and you use your plastic nuts. Now, because these are plastic nuts, you don't want to go crazy tightening this thing down. You only want it to go just past hand tight, maybe a quarter turn past hand tight, and you don't want to wrench it. You don't want the faucet to move when you turn it on and off, but you don't want to go crazy with wrenching the nuts down either, okay? So that's how that would go. And then you put your lift rod for your pop-up in here. Probably would sit about like that, but you can change that height. It's all adjustable. And hey, we're back in business. We're turning water on, checking for leaks, and then you'll be getting your plumber's license in the mail, right? Okay. All right, well, thank you so much for dropping in on this. I'll be doing some other videos on different faucets and subject matters. I already got some out. So if you have a Premier faucet, you might want to give it a run and check it out sometime. Okay? Thank you. Have a great day.